Welcome back to Live With, brought to you by Species Nutrition. Visit speciesnutrition.com. I'm your host, Dave Palumbo, and tonight's guest is the 2016 NPC USA Men's Overall Champion, Rasheed Oldacre. Welcome.
Hey, how's it going, Dave? How you guys doing over there at RXMuscle?
Long time no talk. We only talked about 6,000 times over the last 2 or 3 weeks leading up to this USA Championships. To take people back a little bit, last year at the NPC Nationals, you wound up placing fourth in that super heavyweight class, albeit controversially. A lot of people at the night show felt that you might have been the deserved winner. You tightened up quite a bit from prejudging to night show. I told you after that show you're going to be the winner of the USA Championships this year, and you are. I have to believe that it's a tremendous relief to hear your name announced at that night show as the overall champ.
Oh man, it was a huge relief, man, because like I said, since I've been working with you for these 2 years, the goal was always to go pro, and get to that next level. But you working with me and trying to get me in the best shape I can. It's been a little bit of struggle. But we finally nailed it last year, Miami. But it's a little too short on Friday. But couldn't make up enough ground come Saturday, and so you were telling me to do the USA. But the funny thing about it was, I didn't even want to do it. I was going like, let me give me a little bit extra break, and we had talked, and you kind of got me into doing this. Basically, you got three opportunities right now if you do this one, and so I decided to do it, and we came. Actually, you came up with a new game plan and formulated. Keeping me lean in the off season and starting to prep sooner, and here we are, victorious.
And with an IFBB Pro card in hand too, which is most deserved, I might add. A lot of people have been talking about you as being one of the biggest champions, whether it be the USA or the Nationals, in quite some time. You weighed over 270 pounds, although I would have preferred you to be in the 260s. You weighed over 270 pounds in this victory, which basically proved to a certain extent that bodybuilding is about building muscle, and muscle win shows. Your conditioning was excellent. I'm a stickler. I would have liked it a little better. Maybe some other people might have wanted it a little better too. But you brought the most amount of muscle on that body with tremendous structure and shape. And it just goes to show you that when all is said and done, the judges like muscle.
Uh, yeah, I would have. Yes, 272. We brought it down 2 pounds from last year in Miami. So I would have liked it in the 60s as well, because I would have been real crisp then, and it would have definitely, I guess, quiet some of the critics in terms of conditioning and things like that. But hey, it was enough to edge by and see what happened.
A lot of people would assume that a big guy like you needs to eat a tremendous amount of food. And one of the things that I encountered, and I talked about this on the radio show with Chris, and he's encountered this with some of his competitors too, especially the genetically blessed ones, is that some people's body will burn fat, and then up to a point it won't let go of any more body fat, and you have to torture them basically. And a lot of people are not willing to endure the pain and suffering it takes to get into the best shape of their life. One thing I will say about you is that you don't complain. You're not a complainer. I yell at you, I scream sometimes, but you take it, and you take what I say to you at value, and you trust it, and you trust in the process. And I mean, if I told people what you were eating the last 2 weeks, no one would believe you. You were eating less than a bikini competitor.
Uh, yeah. Oh man. Yeah. We get down to that last. I'd say last 4 weeks maybe, and I just struggle. It doesn't matter how much cardio I'm doing. It don't matter how hard, how long I'm training. That last little bit won't come off, and I ain't gonna lie. Sometimes when I get the plan, I'm looking at you like you crazy, like, like, oh my god. But hey, um, ever since I started working with you, I've gotten nothing but better. I've gotten bigger. I've gotten harder. I've gotten leaner. Since I started working with you about 2.5 years ago. So at this point, I don't really feel like I need to question anything. So I just go ahead and do what I got to do and just have faith in the process and just knock it out.
Yeah,
Complaining ain't gonna get you no title.
yeah.
That's and I've always been raised on. You work hard, you keep your head down, you keep grinding. So if you the coach and that's your guidance is to eat less than a bikini competitor, then hey, I gotta do what I gotta do. I'm trying to win.
Now, a lot of people compare you to Ronnie Coleman, a young Ronnie Coleman coming up. You sound a little like him. You got the little bit of the southern accent. You got a very gentle approach and voice in that sense. And you're passionate about what you do. I mean, you love bodybuilding. Even though you don't go out there and scream around and go all over Facebook and social media, you secretly and quietly put the work in. And I think that people respect that because the results speak for themselves.
Yeah, well, first off, I've been ever since I seen Ronnie Coleman. That's been my favorite bodybuilder ever. And I still to this day believe that he's the greatest bodybuilder of all time. Um, and there's several of them, but for his era, he's the greatest. Period, hands down. Um, I respect his work ethic. I watch all his videos, got all the DVDs. I watch a lot of his interviews when he in depth talking about how he trains and his mentality when he trains and his mindset that he has to go into. Um, and I too, try to emulate um, those hard work things and things like that when it comes to the working process. I don't believe in I just believe in just going to work and do what I got to do. I get a lot of slack about not having Twitter, Instagram, and a lot of things like that from a lot of people. Tell me, hey, yeah, social media game ain't up or whatever the comments are. But the thing is, when I train, I train. I don't have time to go into a locker room and take selfies about my 6 weeks out. Cause when I'm done training real hard, and I train real hard, when I get done with that, I got to go put in 8 hours at the job, and then I still got a kid to take care of and things like that. So almost immediately throughout the day, my focus of where I put my interest has to shift. It's gym, always on my kid and work. Got to make that money.
Let's talk about that for a minute. You work as a drug and alcohol at a rehab place where obviously people go to detoxify themselves, and you're helping people on a daily basis. You have long days. You work 40 hours a week. A lot of bodybuilders don't even have a job. You have which another thing that reminds me a lot of Ronnie Coleman, who always worked a full-time job as a police officer through most of his career. How do you balance the bodybuilding with the work and the work you do, which is kind of service related? You're interacting with people. It's emotional. It's draining to a certain degree.
Uh, Really, I don't really have a definite answer of how I do it. I just do it. At the end of the day, I got to. I love what I do. When it comes to bodybuilding and competing and training real hard and trying to be the best bodybuilder that I can be, um, I love it. Um, and I think when you got love for something, ain't much you wouldn't do for it. So you give it everything you got. And as far as bodybuilding goes, and as far as the job goes, um, I have a knack for interacting with people and helping people and um, in that type of environment. Um, Honestly, I'm actually better with teenagers and things like that. That's where my real passion is working with those guys. And when I found that out, I poured everything I had into that, and so it just comes I guess you could say it comes natural, so to speak. And so when I'm in there, when I get to work, I'm dead tired. But once I hear a patient come to me with an issue or struggling with something, um, I'm just like, okay, time to go to work. And I'm helping them through that issue and helping them through that problem and getting them through it. And once I realized I had that passion and that knack for what I do and how easy it comes to me to, you know, talk to people and help people through those struggling times. I went actually enrolled and start my degree in my master's program in counseling. So I'm be doing that here too. So to me, it doesn't really seem like it gets in the way because it's a passion. Bodybuilding is something I'm going to do. I'm going to do it until I can't do it no more. But at any time, it can end. And if it does, I always want to have something that I'm equally as passionate about to, fall back on and continue going on with that.
Which is obviously something we all want. I always tell people you should have multiple passions in life. So, like you said, if something's not going right with one of them, you got the other one to fall back to instead of going to drugs and alcohol, which ironically is where you work. Now, why do you think you could relate to people who are in this situation that they find themselves in, whether it be alcohol abuse or drug abuse? Why do you feel you can relate to that population of people so well? Is it anything from your upbringing, how you were raised, what you were exposed to?
Dave, it's a little bit of all that. Because back in my youth, I wasn't always, as low key and mellow as I am now. Talk to people that tell you, I was I was into some things. I would get in a lot of trouble, man. I was a knucklehead. I ran the streets. I was pretty much into everything. Um, um, you name it, I was probably into it, and there's a lot of times throughout my life where before I really found out that I was good at bodybuilding. You know, I almost I struggled with you know going left or going right on those roads there. So I can a lot of times these guys when I hear them talking about how they um, got on today with their addictions and how they struggling with certain things, you know, I often give them a little backdrop of me and let them know that hey, I understand, and give them some examples, some of the things that you know I had to help me get through.
What did you find yourself addicted to at some point in your life, and how did you get through it?
Well, I wouldn't really say that I was addicted to anything, because I always try to take care of my body. But we was younger, we used to go out party and do them things there, and just it wasn't conducive to training, you know, and I found myself a lot of times in limbo, I guess you say, because I did have friends that wasn't really on the up and up, and you know, peer pressure and things like that. Um, but again, like I said, but then that's where the upbringing comes in through because I always had my good parents that always instilled in me in certain things, and a lot of times that they planted those seeds, even though I didn't listen to it right away. It was always in the back of my mind that no, you can't do that. No, don't fall. That hey, you're going left. You need to go right. And I was able to really talk my own self out of it. Really, and I was lucky for that.
What do you think? Where did this internal voice come from? Do you feel in you that enabled you to, almost as a survival mechanism, where you said, "Hey, I got a little too far. I better pull back now." Because a lot of people don't have that shut off mechanism.
I can't even really tell you. It's just one of those things that like when you get so down and you get into a corner, you either got two options. There's really no other options. You either come out swinging or you fall victim to what the things that are out there at you. And for me, what really made me say, you know, I'm gonna try real hard and I'm gonna be the best that I can be no matter what. I'm not gonna let nobody hold me down. Was I had just gotten out the military and I was young and dumb and I really didn't make no plans for nothing and I found myself, out there in the streets. I was homeless for a little bit, sleeping on a little bench, and it was just so happened that the local gym I used to go to, a Valley, I used to go in there and shower the first thing in the morning, and the head personal trainer would let me sleep in the back because I was outside all day. And after doing that for so long, he's like, hey, you look like you got a nice physique. Uh, you should try to train some people. I said, I never been a trainer. I know how to work out, but he said, we send you to a little class and they give you some pointers. I said, okay. And I went ahead and I signed up and I started working there as a trainer and started training some people, got a little bit of clients. And at that point, I was able to afford my low budget apartment. At least it wasn't out there on the street. So, real thankful for that. And then, through that whole time, I said, man, I ain't never going backwards again. And so I went to school and got my bachelor's degree, and I did some working at night somewhere and stocking liquor and all kind of stuff, just part time while I went to school, just to pay the bills and get through it. And along the way, I just met friends that were um, real good to me, and they saw good in me, and they saw that I was a good person. They mentored me and guided me, and and then I told them that I really wanted to compete, and I just didn't really have the money. And so a lot of these people, they went in their own pocket, and just provided me with protein, chicken, rice, whatever I needed to get on my feet and just compete. Because they really wanted to see me, you know, happy. And then when I seen that there's actually people like that, in the world, it's like, wow, this guy don't know me from Adam, and here he is picking me up and taking me to the gym sometimes, and making sure my food got chicken and I got rice and things like that. And I didn't have no car. He just gave me a bike, a little 18-wheeler bike, and ride around on that. And, so there's a lot of things I'm fortunate for. I was lucky.
What's it like? I mean, I can't even imagine. I mean, you come out of the military and you're living on the street, homeless. I mean, how do you stay in a positive mindset in that sense? I mean, how do you say to yourself, you know what, it's going to be okay. I'm going to make it. How do you? Because a lot of people would turn to alcohol and drugs at that point because they would be depressed about their situation.
Yeah, I actually thought about turning that route, because it just seemed like it would be the easier route. But the one thing that always kept me going, like I said, when I was, through those moments, I had just had a daughter, at that time, and then I was like, you know, even though, my parents always brought me up real good, they always made sure that I had what I needed and stuff like that too, and they took care of me. So my focus was making sure that, she always had what she needed. And then like I knew I didn't have it at the time, but I says, well shit, I'm gonna fight for it because if I keep going left, I ain't gonna be able to do nothing for her. So, I just kept pushing and pushing every day. I had to tell myself, just 24 hours in a day, let's make it through 12. Let's just focus on getting through 12. And when that 12 came, let's focus on making it to the next 12. When I got consistent with that, let's make it through one day. Okay, let's make it through 2 days. And I just had to keep pushing myself. And so I guess that equates to like when I got to eat those those grueling diets you put me on, that mental toughness. I'm just able to just do it. I just shut off everything else, and all I do is focus on what needs to be done.
In a certain sense, I guess you have to believe that you know where you came from. I am sure you have no desire to ever go back there again.
No,
So
sir.
that's the driving force behind you.
Right. That's exactly right. And then so like when I do get a little taste of what I would call success, whether it's a promotion at work or whether it's a little pay raise or something like that, you know, I'm like, okay, I ain't going back. I'm working even harder. If I can get a 2% raise now, working how hard I am now, I'm gonna work even harder. Maybe next time I get a 4%. And just like bodybuilding, if I win, I'm gonna work even harder. Uh, if I'm a heavyweight now, I'm working even harder. I'm gonna be a super heavy.
Right.
And just keep driving. Everything I do, I always try to get better and better at it.
Do you get frustrated a little bit when you see, how expensive the sport is? And, a lot of people I'm sure are asking you, I know I asked you, hey, why don't you do the Tampa Pro Show this coming weekend? You're in shape already. You got enough muscle. You dry out a little bit and you get on stage. You probably are a shoo-in for a top 5 there. And, the reality of the situation is that you just don't have the money to do it. I mean, you told me that, and I had to respect that because, look, priorities in life come first: paying the rent, paying for your food, your daughter. But does it frustrate you that the sport is an expensive sport and there's not as much money there, say, as if you had turned pro in, say, professional football or something like that? So, I think we had a little fallout. Well, I just want, while Johnny's trying to get him back, I just want to just say one thing about Rasheed. Here's a guy who trains about as hard as I've ever seen anyone else train. He's got more muscle than anyone. When he first came to me and approached me to work with him, I was like, this guy's a genetic freak. Where did he come from? It was almost like another planet beamed him down here. And no one had really heard about him. He was very quietly in the background, and he's been around since the early 2000s, competing, just never, really found the right formula. But like you said, trucking along and just making improvements. And the story is very Ronnie Coleman-esque if you think about it. I mean, Ronnie went into a gym, had no idea that he was a championship level bodybuilder. And Brian Dobson, said, hey, you got to compete, and pushed him. And look where Ronnie wound up. I really see Rasheed in that same light, just coming into his own. I feel that he can stand on any pro stage right now and do well. So let me get back to him right now. Do we have him? That's the interview he did with Sean Ray. I'm going to ask him about that in a little bit because it was interesting that Steve Bleckman sent word via, I'm sure, David Bay that to tell Rasheed that if he mentions me, because he knew I was his coach, that they wouldn't do the interview with him or put it up, which is about as low a blow as you could possibly, have for anyone. Because here's a guy who just won the USA Championships, and you're going to censor what he's going to say. You're going to stop the passion that's going to come out of his mouth, the people he wants to thank. Who cares about what, I wouldn't care if anyone said, I want to thank Steve Bleckman on my TV show. That's, who helped that person out and gave them an opportunity, then so be it. But, Rasheed has a lot to be thankful for. Rasheed, what I was saying, we just got you back. What I was saying earlier is I said, is it frustrating when you see all these guys, doing all these shows and having the I guess, monetary wherewithal to be able to do these shows, and you're having to, take, stop essentially because the priorities of life, rent, food, your daughter, come before, say, taking off another week from work and doing the Tampa show?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It definitely feels bad that when you got to look at it like that because you work so hard to get to that level, and you really want to compete at that level and be on stage with these guys that work just as hard, but then you have to hit the brakes because you just can't afford it. You got to prioritize everything. But at the same time, for me, uh, it just makes me more hungry and makes me more determined. Um, and uh, I know a lot of people, like I said, that they don't, a lot of people don't know me, but people will see, how hungry I am, and I'm sure they heard it 1,000 times from all the athletes that turn pro. Um, you know, I want to compete. Like I said, I need this, and I need it for me. So um, when I'm able to, step on stage again, and when I, sit down with you and we formulate game plan to, what's going to be best for me in terms of outlining certain shows and things like that, to kind of get me where I need to get to. oh, you're gonna see. It's gonna be a whole new me. I'm gonna be hungry. Um, I finally got to where I want to get to. It took me, I don't know, like what, 14 years to get pro. So since my first show, so now it's like I'm not even thinking about the USA win anymore or anything like that. No disrespect to it, but right now I'm just focused on what's next. How can I get better? Um, and yeah, it is frustrating because I really wanted to do, the Tampa Pro, King Williams and some of the big names there, and some of the, just get my feet wet a little bit and just have fun now, and do what I love to do.
Your daughter think about the bodybuilding? Does she understand what the whole concept? How old is she?
Oh, my daughter, she's 12 now. She'll be 13. She's 13 this November.
Like the
So
bodybuilding?
she really enjoys it. She hasn't really understood the whole concept of like what's what, but she understands that when I got um the diet, she understands that, and she understands it takes a lot of hard work and a lot of hard training uh to compete and be the best, and you know as she tells me, I got to stick to the plan so I can get big muscles and crush them. So so it's like I can crush them out there. So that's her little thing. So yeah, she understands, the basics of it. Absolutely.
Her friends say when they come over and they see you.
Oh man, she'll show them pictures and things, but they don't really believe that I'm a dad. They like I'm some cartoon character, some make believe guy.
Like she should bring you up for like show and tell, like at school or something like that. Like
Yeah,
my
a
dad's a
lot of
cop,
times,
my dad's a
man.
fireman, my dad's a bodybuilder. I'm sure the kids would love that.
Yeah, a lot of times, man. She a lot of times, some of the friends that I have meet, they just kind of don't say nothing. They just kind of stare.
Wait till the boys start coming around for dates and stuff like that. Oh my God, forget
Oh
about it.
man,
They're gonna be scared out of their mind.
I've been preparing for this for 12, 13 years now, man. To be honest with you, I'm just like, oh man. I said I'm gonna try to be as cool as possible, but we, we know how that goes.
Right.
Yeah. Woo.
Scary business, huh?
Scary business, man. It's just, that's your baby girl,
Yeah.
and when they start transitioning into, that different phases of life, man, it does get scary, man, and just, you just got to make sure that, even with this bodybuilding thing, I just role modeling, staying positive, and role model that, you work hard for what you believe in, and you work hard for the things that you want, and you carry yourself. And the most important thing I tell her is just, carry yourself in a manner with the type of people that you want to attract. If you want good people to surround you, then you got to carry yourself, with good character and carry yourself right.
And that's very wise words. Now, you're just really getting your career is really just starting as a pro now. But let's flash forward to the end of your career. How would you want to be remembered as a bodybuilder, as a pro bodybuilder, when it's all over and all said and done, you're done competing? How do you want people to remember Rasheed Oldacre?
When it's all said and done, I would want people to remember me as hard working, humble, easygoing, and just all around great guy, and people know that I gave it all I got. I gave it everything I had to bodybuilding to be the best that I can be, not necessarily being the best in the world or a certain region, but just being the best that I can be.
Well, I think you accomplished that this past weekend. The judges rewarded you for that. You are the men's 2016 overall bodybuilding champion, and I want you to enjoy that title while it lasts, because next year you're starting all over again in the pro ranks of the IFBB. Thanks for taking time, Rasheed, and talking to us, and it was a pleasure. It's been a pleasure working with you, and I look forward to working with you in the future. I think we got a lot of good stuff still to do.
Oh yeah, we got a lot of good work to do. I'm telling you, man. I'm on a whole new level of excitement. You haven't even seen it yet, so we'll. I'm excited to get to work, man.
All right. That will take us to another end of another episode of Live With, brought to you by Species Nutrition. Visit speciesnutrition.com and stay tuned tomorrow for another episode of Iron Rage with John Romano, and hopefully we'll have another episode of Iron Debate. For now, I'm Dave Palumbo. We'll see you next time.